Hey everybody, this is Jim Kurtz, and welcome to the Profitable Farmer. And today's episode, it's a couple days before Thanksgiving here in the United States. And if you're watching this, you're probably like half of us are probably already checked out, waiting for the holiday. The other half of us are scrambling around trying to get the last little bits of work done before we start. And today's episode, I really just want to talk about this stuff. This stuff here. Where is it? There you go, right there. See that? See these little pieces of paper? These little green pieces of paper here. This is money. This is what profitability is all about, And here we have just little pieces of paper, little pieces of trash. You stick them in. It's funny. You've had pieces of paper like this. You'll just wad them up like this, right? And just throw them in the trash can, right? And normally pieces of paper, if I took a piece of paper like this piece of paper here, threw it in the trash can, nobody would say anything. But you take one of these, what is a $10 bill here, and you throw this away in the trash can, and oh my God, what's happening? And at the end of the day, we spend our whole lives chasing these little pieces of paper, right? But they're so important to our lives because this little piece of paper is a symbol. It represents something. It represents that some form of value that you've delivered to society. So, if you don't have enough of this at the end of a year, that means you didn't produce enough value. Now, why am I bringing this up in a podcast or a Facebook Live show about farming? Well, because most farmers have issues with this stuff. Because at the end of the day, farming is a highly variable type of activity. It's something that requires constant attention. It requires constant vigilance, constant, managing. It's not like, okay, I can plant a bunch of seeds in 100 acres of field, right, and then at the end of my season, automatically be guaranteed that I have plenty of these little things, right, at the end of my season. Enough to pay off my workers, my equipment, my seed costs, all that stuff, and then still have money for me and my family. It's a challenging thing because some years you may have bad weather. You may have a lot of hot days, or you may have droughts, or you may have other issues. Right now, we're hearing fertilizer costs and transportation costs is skyrocketing. So that's becoming more and more difficult. In other words, more of these little pieces of paper are required to just to do the same amount of work and the same amount of product than you used to be able to get. And so it becomes more important for you to become more efficient. Now, the word efficiency or the word efficient really just means that the utilization or using of available resources to get the maximum output or the maximum eventual products. Now, for farming, of course, what inputs we have? We have seed. We have, chemical costs. We have fertilizer costs. We have water costs. We have labor costs, transportation costs, fuel costs. All these different costs are all input costs, And it's real easy to pay close attention to, making these inputs, making this pile here that you're spending on inputs as small and as tiny as humanly possible, and then holding on to it with an iron fist, right? That's one way to, of course, be profitable at the end of the year. Because if you can take this big wad of pieces of paper here, this cash, and you can wad it up as tightly as you can, and make sure it's so tight, little ball there, then the idea is you'll wind up being profitable. And of course, you definitely want to maintain your input costs. You don't want to spend a ton of money because at the end of the day, you do have to manage your costs. At the other side of it, you want to maximize your gain. So if you have, let's say if these costs, if this amount of this pile of paper here, this pile of bills here represented how much your input costs were, and you get that down to pretty much a scientific, like as small of a number as you can get that to, then the only way that you can improve profitability is by improving gain. In other words, net profit. Net profit comes from increasing your yield. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Let's say your total operating cost for your farm is, let's say 60%. And I don't know what those numbers are on an average farm, but let's say it's 60%. And that leaves 40% would be profit. In real numbers, that might be more like for corn and soybean guys, it might be more like 10%. But for the specialty crop growers, it might be 20, 30, 40% is your profit margin. So the idea is, how do you maximize that profit margin? Because you can only limit cost to so much. You can only take your cost and reduce that to some finite factor. And then at some point, you just have to increase your yield. Now, what is the most efficient and effective way to increase yield? Well, of course, it's looking at the plant itself and making that plant as efficient as humanly possible. And that's exactly where our system, our Kim-Icy Plant Booster system, comes in. Our system is not about reducing input costs necessarily, but it's about how do you get the maximum amount of yield for that input cost, and how do you maximize the resources you have available to you with fertilizer, water, etc. And so what our system does is it does help you reduce your input cost to some degree, and that reduction of input cost will offset the cost of our system. But the other thing that our system does and is really good at is to maximize yield. And that's where you'll see the real profitability. Because if your profit margin is 40% and I can get you an extra 5% reduction in cost, some farmers will be jumping up and down for that to get an extra 5%. But then if I say, well, what if I can actually increase your yield by 20%? Because that's going to increase your overall profitability by quite a bit. And when I do cost benefit analysis for farmers, I see dramatic differences in terms of how much money they're making, because they're able to increase their yield and the quality of their yield substantially. And when you can increase quality and quantity of yield, you're going to make a lot more money on the front end, on the top end. And then your input costs don't change that much unless you're growing strawberries or something like that, which has, a high labor cost, a high labor value. Most crops, if you increase yield by 20%, you're effectively increasing your profit by 20%, maybe like 16, 17%. In other words, your input cost is not going to go up drastically if you can make the plant super efficient. You don't need more seed. You don't need more, labor necessarily. You don't need more fertilizer. You don't need more water. You don't need more other chemicals or pesticides. So if you can keep all of your costs consistent, and then increase your yield by 20, 30, 40%, then you're going to make a lot of money. In fact, I was talking to a guy the other day, he's got $100,000 deal on the table where he's going to pay me $100,000. And of course, like everything, you're looking at, it's easy just to look at that 100,000. Imagine if this was stacks of $100 bills here. Imagine if that was a big stack of $100 bills that totaled $100,000. I can understand that is hard to give up. But then if I told you for every dollar, every one of these $1 bills here, let me see. Imagine if I could take every $1 bill you paid me, every one of these guys, right? And if I could turn that $1 bill into one of these, how much money would you be looking for? And if I could take this and turn it into this, and if I guarantee you that the worst case scenario, if I didn't make you more of these than you pay me, I give you this back. That's like playing the lottery and having them give you the dollar back if you don't win. I mean, it literally is that much of a difference. So every one of these you give me, for most specialty growers, you're going to get one of these back, or at least if at the minimum you're going to get one of these, another one of these, maybe a $5 bill somewhere. I lost my 5 here. I'm throwing them around. But, you'll get 5 to 10 times your money back. So it's easy to look at an expense like, oh, I've got $50,000. I got to pay this guy $10,000. I got to pay this guy $50,000. I got to pay this guy. We have a couple of guys. I have to pay this guy $600,000 or $1 million for like hundreds and hundreds of acres and hectares, right? And they're looking at that going, wow, that's a big expense. Okay, yeah, you're going to increase your input cost by maybe 10% of what you're currently paying. But if that 10% increase in input costs can translate into, a 20 to 30% increase in your top line revenue, then that's going to net you 30 or 40% increases in profitability. And that's where our system is really helping farmers, especially specialty growers, make a tremendous amount more money. The money is in the sales. The money is in the yield. That's why when we talk to farmers, that they always say, well, if you can increase my yield, of course, that's what I want. And for the ones who aren't interested in increasing their yield, we're telling them, look, if we can increase your quality ratings and get you up to the next level of quality rating, or get your percentage of highest value, highest quality rating up to 90, 100%. What is that going to do for you? And they say, well, that would be great. And other growers, we say, well, what if I can get you to market a couple of weeks before the major push hits and the major industry hits? Because you'll make a ton more money at that early stage than you will if you hit it in the middle of the season like everybody else does, because there's a commodity factor to it. So there's so many ways to make money with a Kimanosity plant booster. It's hard to quantify, because our system handles the core issues of agriculture. If you think about it, that core issue, the biology of the plant, we're not GMOs, we're not genetically manipulating anything. We're just taking the natural genetics and natural biological processes of it and making those processes as efficient as possible. And I'm telling you, we're seeing instances where we're increasing efficiency by 20, 30, 40%, and recouping so much of that energy that's lost during the season because of heat, because of insects, because of disease and funguses and all these other problems that you're always facing. So imagine if you had an insurance policy where you're making those plants more resilient to adverse weather conditions and maximizing the energy production and fruit and vegetable production on the one side. And you're seeing on the other side a much bigger differential in yield and quality as well. How much money is that going to make you? Because the guy right now that I'm talking to that's looking to come up with $100,000 to pay me, he's going to make $1 million to $2 million in the next 2 years. I guarantee he's going to make $2 million. And that's what you have to look at. If you want to increase profitability, you have to increase how much you can sell that product for and how much of that you have to sell. If you can handle those two factors, it really doesn't matter that fertilizer is going up and doubling. If you're worried about fertilizer costs right now, if you're thinking, wow, the cost of fertilizer just doubled and it might be tripling by next year, if that's something that's concerning you because you're thinking more of these is coming out of your pocket and just getting pissed away because Uncle Joe and everybody else has decided to destroy our economy, essentially. I mean, again, I don't want to get political with these, but the reality is inflation is now hitting. All that free money that was given out in 2020, 2021 is now making the money that we have worth a lot less. So the cost of transportation is going up, the cost of fertilizer is going up, your input costs are going to go up. And that has nothing to do with me or my company. All I'm doing is trying to help you conserve and utilize that fertilizer that you have as efficiently as possible so that you can get the maximum amount of yield and gain out of it. Because the farmers that are using this technology already, they're going to be benefiting. They're already seeing the benefits. So they're going to be using less fertilizer than everybody else. And the farmers that are jumping on board now with this and getting a start on this before their fertilizer costs hit next year, they're going to be in a lot better financial position next year when at the end of the season they say, well, here's my harvest and here's my cost. And now my cost just went up, and my cost of goods, my income didn't necessarily go up with it. So then what do? What are you going to do? You can complain about the fact that, all these different situations are happening, or you can be proactive about it. So we want to work with innovators. We want to work with farmers that are interested in improving their situation and making their operation as efficient as possible. So if that's you, then give us a call, 727-324-6750. You can also go on our website if you want more information about our product and how it works, the scientific basis of it, and all these things. Of course, check it out at harvestharmonics.com. There's a whole page on the science behind this and why we're able to increase and enhance photosynthesis efficiency when that's never been done before. This is what we call a brave new world in agriculture. This is where we can actually improve the natural biological processes of plants and living things without having to resort to chemicals or electric shock or all these different things, right? And just to let you guys know, if you're wondering what the real numbers are, here's some of the numbers that some of our farmers have reported in terms of extra profitability. $20,000 an acre, $12,400 an acre, $17,000 an acre, and more. These are real numbers, guys. Yes, my product is not a cheap fertilizer that you can buy for $10 an acre. It's just not. But for every dollar that you pay me, I pay you 10. How many people really want to take advantage of that? And it's getting to the point where you really have a choice, right? You can hand me a couple of dollars, or $3 or $4 and get 10, Or you can keep your money now, hang on to it, and next year you're going to find yourself paying $10 for the fertilizer because the cost of transportation and everything else went up. And now you're stuck with the fact that your input cost just skyrocketed while your income level, your productivity didn't increase. So I'm offering you the opportunity to increase your productivity and reduce your input costs so that you're able to be more profitable. And that's the simplicity of what profitability means. I mean, the simplicity of improving profitability is reduce your input costs, reduce your usage, and then also increase your yield on top of that. And when you can stimulate photosynthesis and keep that plant generating as much energy as possible throughout its life cycle, then you're going to, of course, maximize your overall yield. So what questions do you have, guys? I want to see what questions can I answer for you guys about this. Again, there's a lot of things. If you watched our shows before, you notice I've kind of gone through how this works. It utilizes a very unique radio wave signaling system that directly stimulates photosynthesis in plants. That's the simplicity of it. So we don't have to use fertilizer. We don't have to use chemicals. We don't have to use pesticides, those types of things. The plants themselves are designed to be healthy and thrive. And if you just give them the opportunity to do so, they will do that. And they will produce very high quality fruits and vegetables for you at very high productivity as well. So just to let you guys know what we're seeing, what we've seen this year on farms, better water retention in the soil, better soil microbial activity in the soil. Those two factors alone are going to dramatically increase productivity because they're going to be sustainably rebuilding the soil as you grow on it. Other factors we're seeing is, of course, 20% increases in yield on a consistent basis, and 20 to 30% usually. We're seeing better quality rating, higher bricks rating, better shelf life. I mean, there's a number of different benefits and advantages to using Kiminasi Plant Booster, not the least of which is our system, because it's a device. It's not a chemical input where you have to ship tons of something just to get your crop out. We can actually FedEx or UPS our product out. Now, I will let you know too, that our operational costs are increasing just like everybody else's. I mean, there's a worldwide inflation going on right now. So we have a lot of inventory on hand right now. And the farmers that jump on board with this are going to be tremendously, they're going to get a really good deal. If you guys wait till next year or the following year, the cost of production, the cost of transportation, the cost of everything else is going up. We're going to have to translate that cost as well. And I want you guys to get the opportunity to use this technology and make the most amount of money you possibly can. So take advantage of our offer now, put this on your farm, see the results, and then, hey, there's a money back guarantee, which we've never had to use. We've never issued a refund, and I don't expect to do that anytime soon. So once it's installed, let me ask a question here. Once it's installed, how can I know it's working properly? Is it possible to measure the signals? Good question. The answer is yes. We do have a quality control in place where at the end of each installation, we take samples of water and verify that the signals are in the water. And then we can tell you, okay, it needs to be reinstalled if they're not there, or if they are, of course, you're good to go and you'll see the results like everybody else. Not saying too much here, guys, but I tell you what, guys, if you guys want more information about our technology and how it works, you can go to our website at harvestharmonics.com. If you'd like to get a quote or more information about pricing and how we can help you on your farm, then you can, of course, call us here at 727-324-6750. We'd be happy to issue a quote. Or if you are watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can go down in the comments and find a request for quote form. Just fill out that form and send it back to service@harvestharmonics.com, and we'll be able to issue a quote. And you can see that the profitability factor of this technology is really unlike anything else. We're talking about major increases in yield, major improvements in quality, major improvements in the soil health and overall sustainability of your farm. And all these things come at a premium, of course, but the cost of our system for everything that our system does, the cost is it's really dirt cheap, and it's cheaper than anything else out there that can deliver comparable results. And it's an amazing product, and we're very happy and thankful for our farmers that are using it. And of course, we know that many more farmers are going to jump on board. And the farmers that jump on board right now, you guys have a distinct advantage of the people that wait, because there's a lot of people that just want to wait. They want to see. They want to wait until our university's trials are done, which is almost done. They're going to want to wait till 25 other farmers in their area are using it. And if you wait, you're going to lose a lot of money. And I don't want that to happen, because my job is to help you become more profitable in your operation. And I can only do that if you utilize my product and my technology, because it will be the single most dramatic improvement to your profitability and your bottom line that you've ever seen. So give us a call or send us an email or fill out a request for quote form, and let's get you part of the future of farming today by using the Kiminoxi Plant Booster. And in the meantime, I want to wish everybody out there a very happy Thanksgiving for the guys here in the United States and Canada and everywhere else around the world. I want to just issue thanks so much for watching and supporting our channel. Feel free to subscribe so you don't miss a beat here. In the next few weeks, we're going to be rolling out a number of different programs and advice that's really going to blow you away. And when you see some of the things that we're producing, that we're doing in these university trials, and I haven't even told you about corn yet. If you guys are corn growers and you've been waiting to see what we're doing on corn, I mean, we're talking 2 full-size ears per stalk. I mean, we're doubling production with organic corn production versus control. And once we get these trials back, it's game on, because we know that all the corn farmers who have been looking out for this and waiting for this product and waiting for results on this, I mean, we're talking about increasing your yield by 50 to 100%. I mean, just imagine that. So the results are already there. If you guys have watched our shows, you've seen the results on a variety of different crops. The improvements in terms of utilization of inputs, including water and nutrients, is huge. And the improvements in quality and quantity of yields is tremendous. So give us a call, send us an email, or fill out a quote form, and let's work together so we can all have healthy food to eat, and you can become part of the future of farming today. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow.